Hey guys, and welcome to my follow-up video, where I've now collected all the results from my headsets with both the standard and aftermarket faceplates. This video is going to focus on following up the several testing situations I've done across my headsets. This is using an application called Test HMD, which will be linked in the description. While FOV values are mentioned here, a follow-up video is going to have to be done, as I'm going to have to break down the standard versus the aftermarket, as there is simply more than one simple answer as to yes or no, depending on how you test, how you wear, and what faceplate and what headset you are using. I've already set the benchmark with the super sampled Oculus Rift CV1, which is a headset from 2016. That was done in the last video where I explained all of the testing and the reasoning behind all the lenses scores you're going to see in this video. So if you really don't care about that and just want to see the results so you can disagree with me, you're in luck with this video. Now before starting this video, I have to make absolutely clear this test situation is specifically comparing the render the other side of the lenses and the rendered visuals it gives you at the given resolutions. I am not factoring in latency introduced from all the streaming solutions, such as the Quest 2, Pico Neo 3-Link Wireless, and the Pico 4. This is solely a render comparison in a fixed testing situation, the best case situation, if you will. As with any streaming solution using compression, the more busy the scene, the faster the change of pixels, the variable of your bitrate settings, network, the distance and detail of the geometry in the game, even the GPU manufacturer and model, and the codec used for the streaming and compression will all change the visuals you see and have unavoidable latency introduced over typical HDMI or DisplayPort cable headsets. With that said, the following headsets have all been set to their native resolutions or as close to them. As they are up against the Oculus CV1, which is a very low resolution panel headset, I've added the super sampling to make this a more interesting fight, and while this means it's not a perfectly matched render resolution across these headsets, I am taking them as the default best preset values they offer and maxing either Oculus Link or virtual desktop settings. While it may seem a little unfair looking at the CV1 rendered resolution, remember it is simply here to show progress. It is severely physically limited by its panel resolution, and as such has much more notable screen door effect. So the super sampling is a way of showing that the CV1 can really still hang with the new kids, and potentially still be a viable option for people, or even give insight if it's really worth that jump away from the CV1 if you're already happy with it. This video is going to be chaptered, which will cover any specific area you're interested in, but for anyone watching on the TV, mobile phone, don't have that luxury, let's get into it. Contrast and brightness test. First place we have the CV1, missing the last two of the whiteboard and able to show 8 of the blackboard clearly. This is the OLED really shining, and from this point on, the scores on the other headsets on the blackboard are just generous markings. They are not a true gradient like the CV1. Second place we have a tie, the Neo 3-Link over DisplayPort cable and Quest 2 Link cable. Both are missing the last two on the whiteboard, but sort of able to display 3 of the blacks. Third place we also have a tie between the Neo 3-Link and Oculus Quest 2, both using virtual desktop. They are missing 4 of the whites and sort of display 3 of the blacks. Virtual desktop is not using any colour boosting here, but still suffers showing the contrast differences. In last place we have the new Pico 4 over virtual desktop. All tests are done at full headset brightness, but despite this, the brightness and contrast ratio on the Pico 4 just can't compete, which I have to put down to the pancake lenses, robbing the screen of its potential. Colour test. In first place we once again have the CV1. The OLED colours simply can't be beaten, showing the full colour range from dark to super bright. In second place I have to call this a tie between the Neo 3-Link DisplayPort mode and Quest 2 Link cable. The Neo 3-Link is one row off the darkest colours, but has much more vibrant colours on the other end of the chart. The Quest 2 Link cable can show darker colours one row before the Neo 3-Link, but its colours are washed out. Third place is also a tie between the Neo 3-Link and Quest 2 over virtual desktop. While it's a tie for how many rows both can see, the Neo 3-Link does have more vibrant colours right at the end of the board. Last place is unfortunately the Pico 4. It can't see the darker colours and there's no vibrancy to the colours at the end of the board. Chromatic aberration test. First place we have the redemption for the Pico 4. Its pancake optics leave it absolutely clear with no chromatic aberration or colour shifting in this test. It's really impressive. Second place we have the Quest 2. While there is still breaks away from the grid, the software correction is excellent and not something you ever see outside specific tests like this. Third place we have the CV1, again helped out by the great software correction. It does still shift away from the grid, but again it's not something you ever see outside of a test like this. Last place we have the Pico Neo 3-Link. While the cause of chromatic aberration is always going to be down to the lenses, the software correction is severely lacking here. While it is tolerable in games, this test is a fail. Blue moves a lot more and even spawns green offshoots from them. Please Pico, just fix this already. edge-to-edge clarity from 1 meter. In first place, we have the near-free link. In this test of black text on white background, it does not have any chromatic aberration and has excellent clarity right to the end of the lenses in all directions. In second place, we have the CV1. Despite its age, the lenses do have great clarity right to the end of the lenses, with only the bottom outside corners for me having a very faint blur. In third place, we have the Pico 4. While the FOV on these new pancake optics may be bigger, its super crisp centre doesn't continue all the way to the end of the lenses, and it has a very distinct strong blur line around your vision just before the outer edges. Last place is the Quest 2. While great in the centre, the smaller sweet spots of these lenses mean the sharpness tails off pretty fast compared to the Pico 4, and towards the end of the lenses, there is a distinct ring around your vision that causes a strong blur to the text. Lens glare test. First place, we have the Pico near-free link, with very minimal God rays that are non-intrusive to the centre of your vision. Second place, we have the Quest 2, with very minimal God rays, but you do get caught on that outer edge blur, making them slightly more noticeable, but still not intrusive to your centre vision. In third place, we have the CV1, and I can already hear the yelling and the clickety keys of the angry responses being typed. While God rays are everywhere, they do not interfere with your centre vision when facing bright objects head on. The glare test text is defined, but full of God rays stemming away from it. So what's the reason I put Pico 4 with no God rays at all in last place? Well, quite simply, its internal reflections and the bloom facing a bright object head-on is just uncomfortable. It's extremely intrusive into the centre of your vision, and looking away for some relief only shifts the bloom over to the one eye. While people may disagree about God rays being worse than bloom and internal reflections, whereby the lights as this test duplicate themselves into a whole new pattern, it's only going from the results on this test. The app is linked in the description, and I urge you to try before slating me too much on this. Eye test, bottom line and 20/20 vision. First place, we have the near-free link DisplayPort mode, reading the furthest out of all the headsets, going beyond the last marked line on the floor, which is 5 meter. No compression really makes a big difference here. Second place goes to the Pico 4, only falling half a meter behind the near-free link in DisplayPort mode, but adds a lot more resolution with virtual desktop godlike for it to be able to keep up. Third place, we have the CV1, only falling slightly behind the Pico 4 in the 20/20 vision test. The OLED contrast and definition here, along with the super sampling, absolutely help the CV1. Fourth place, we have the Pico near-free link over virtual desktop. While it can't quite match the CV1 for the bottom line distance, it can match the 20/20 vision test. Now this baffled me, and had me test, retest and retest again, but somehow the near-free link does better over VD than it does on the Quest 2, which of course comes in at 5th place, causing much confusion how it falls behind the 20/20 vision test compared to near-free link. It's the same app, same setting, same panel resolution, same network, same prescription lenses, but that is what it is. In last place, we have the Quest 2 link cable, falling just behind the Quest 2 virtual desktop. Geometric test, floor sign. Now this is one of my own tests. We're checking the text legibility at a distance again, this time with white text on a black board. In first place, we have the tie between the near-free link DisplayPort cable and a CV1. Both are able to move back 8 lines counted on the floor from the wall itself. Second place goes to the Pico 4. Again, that sheer brute force of resolution just narrowly gives it the edge into second place here. As third place is a tie between the near-free link and Quest 2 using virtual desktop. While the same count as Pico 4, the line counts are actually rounding down. They put up a pretty good fight considering the resolution difference to the Pico 4. In last place, we have the Quest 2 link cable. Geometric test wall, looking for the horizontal lines. In first place by a long way is the CV1. While this may sound bizarre, the OLED definition and super sampling combined make picking out a horizontal white line on a black wall at least incredibly impressive. In second place we have the near-free link DisplayPort. Being a much higher resolution panel than the CV1, the LCD just can't compete with the OLED in the contrast range. This has me yearning for a high resolution OLED over DisplayPort cable. Let's hope the industry takes note of this. In third place we have the Quest 2 link cable, having more details likely help to compression here compared to the floor sign test. In joint fourth, we have the near-free link and Quest 2 using virtual desktop, both not able to match the link cable as I found in the brightness and the contrast tests. And the wooden spoon goes to the Pico 4 here. Despite its massive resolution gain, it falls behind that of even the Quest 2. The reason I feel is the pancake optics just rob too much of that screen brightness away, as can be seen for all the previous tests. No amount of resolution can overcome the loss of details perceived through contrast, brightness and colour, but as is Gen 1 of pancake lenses, in time screens will get better and brighter. Here's hoping it's a shift away from LCD that VR really needs right now. Field of view results. Now, without going too deep into this, the results for the max figures are not what I would call honest results. With how I wear the headsets, one dot from the test will be left in my vision above or below, depending on the headset. So the resulting figure is not actually true of the FOV value, it's based upon the distance between them both. Nevertheless, it seems to be how the results on the board in this application are tested, as I get the same result through my lenses if I only take one of the dots of the figure as my CV1. This is going to be the short summary breakdown on what headset comes out on top and what faceplate changes due to these headsets. To no surprise, the Pico 4 is coming out on top, but only after changing the faceplate. I am using a 3D printed solution here, not only for the comfort better fit in my face, but it did improve the FOV. This is not a specific FOV increaser faceplate, so to cover the Pico faceplates better, I will need to do another video. For now though, in second place I would place the Neo 3 Link, but again, only after changing the faceplate for a 3D printed version. The difference here shows another variable you wouldn't expect, as over DisplayPort mode there is more FOV. Now anyone who follows this channel will probably immediately guess why. The DisplayPort scale issue and the distortion profile that still needs to be corrected is likely to factor into this. In third place though, you could argue this is a tie for second, is the Quest 2, but only after changing to a VR cover faceplate with its slim padding. This isn't exactly making a huge difference compared to the Picos. For any increase in the readings, I have to take the results as I consider false. It will greatly increase comfort, but the resulting FOV, remember, is not a true reading on these max scores. Fourth place we have the CV1, which when fitted with a VR cover faceplate and slim padding, does again gain some FOV, but this is more about the comfort. In the cases with the Pico headsets, they really don't fit my face shape with standard faceplates, for both the Pico Neo 3 Link and the Pico 4, having all the pressure on my forehead and keeping me from getting close to the lenses. With my Oculus headsets, I've always changed the faceplates for hygiene reasons. VR cover is my go-to solution on there, but again, it is entirely face shape dependent and there is a whole market for faceplates on the Oculus headsets. Pico 4 is starting to get some aftermarket options, but if you have a 3D printer, both the Neo 3 Link and Pico 4 have designs already existing online, and I can personally highly recommend them. When it comes to Neo 3 Link, a simple faceplate change has cemented it as my PCVR headset of choice. So that's the video wrapped up. This took way too long to make, the results have all been personal to my eyes and likely will never match your own results. I hope it gives some insights into how these latest headsets compare, but please remember, this is statically looking at objects. In gaming, you have to make a choice of wired video connection or wireless network streaming or USB. Do you go for the visuals and performance tethered by a DisplayPort or HDMI wire, or compression and streaming artifacts with the performance loss and added latency by wireless or USB cables? There is no absolute perfect headset, so I'm not going to conclude the video with a winner here. That said, the audio test and tracking volume test that wasn't part of this video was a landslide win for the CV1, and I now have to ask myself, what year is it? Happy New Year, guys. I hope 2023 brings even more competition and progress into the VR space, and I hope you have a good one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.